Please can I have on stage Saurav Ganguly and Zahir Khan. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Saurav Ganguly and Zahir Khan. Hey. Saurav, has VVS always been the good boy?
I didn't hear you.
Has he always been the good boy? He didn't allow you to. He said, "What is Saurav's version?" So let me start with that version.
He never had the name Cinderella before. That much I can say. I think this is the first time somebody has called him a Cinderella. But you know, I messaged him. He did not respond to my message a month ago, saying that I'm not happy with the title of the book. And I must say that to Westland Books, that it's not the right title. So the next question you would ask me is why? It should have been 281 and saved Saurav Ganguly's career. That's how the title should have been. So it's not the best title in the world, and I said I strongly oppose it, because if that 281 hadn't happened...
Can I intervene? How much money has Saurav made? How much money has Saurav made?
Yeah,
any guess?
You can tell it.
No, you tell me. So you have a portion. You've saved his career. Take it from him today. Ask him. Confess.
So money is not always related to careers, and we never made money, so that's not a problem. So I said the heading should have been 281 and not beyond and Saurav Ganguly's career. That would have been the right title.
Elaborate. Why do you see it? I mean, obviously we understand.
Yeah, because if he hadn't got the 281, we would have lost the game, and I would not have been captain after that. So it should be 281 and saved Saurav Ganguly's career.
Zahir, you were seeing both these guys. I mean, you had come in 2000. All of us remember that Nairobi, that Steve Waugh keeps coming back. So, you know, that delivery and all of that. But that Kolkata test match, captain, an innings that transformed world cricket for all time. Can you give us a sense what was going on in your mind and what was going on in the dressing room?
Well, good evening, everyone. It's certainly a very, very special evening here. When VVS is here, everything is very, very special. I'm always happy to share the dressing room, the platform here right now this evening. You know, it's always a pleasure to sit by Laxman and share my experiences with him. To start with, to answer your question, I think, you know, that was very early days in my career. You know, so it was basically, I didn't have a clue what was going around. Like, you know, it didn't matter who I was playing against. It was just about, you know, running and bowling and as Dada always says that, you know, when he asked me to bowl bouncers, I would bowl half volleys. So I was pretty much doing my own thing.
He did that actually many number of times, and he's actually one of VVS's best friends.
VVS writes that in the book.
He listened to VVS when he started, and after that VVS and me only listened to him for the rest of his career. So
you mean to say VVS told him not to bowl the bouncers when you asked him to bowl the half
couldn't have happened, because he used to always be ready in the second slip to catch the outside edges. So it was too far for him. The closest person was me, you know, bowler and mid-on. So the communication was a lot more than what VVS and he had.
But Zahid, just to add to that question, he actually says, he comes to the hotel and he says, why Zahir Khan? Why my roommate has been changed? He calls John Wright and says, why have you done this? That's the first chapter of the book actually. And then he goes to the room and you all forge a friendship which is great. I mean, and then he says, Zahir was always a little quirky about my side of the room because it was all very neatly done. Can you give us a sense of the VVS Laxman that we don't see? I mean, the one who was your roommate?
Well, the feelings were likewise. So I was not happy to know that Laxman is going to be my roommate. So that's one thing to start with. Let's just put the record straight. You know, I was not quirky about things. I think it was Laxman who was quirky about things. You know, he was very particular. He was very disciplined. I would say that in terms of setting his room, you know, in terms of when we come back from practices, he would keep the laundry in his one particular corner, which is the dirty clothes corner, where the shoes must go. So everything had a very neatly organized setup in the room also. And if you look at the way, and if you ask any of the cricketers who's shared dressing room with Laxman, they would vouch for this, that he had a very, to the second routine, even when he was preparing for the for his batting. You know, when he used to be next to bat, when the wicket used to fall, he'll probably go and wash his face. You know, because he wanted to be. So every second mattered.
No. When the wicket would fall, he would go to wash his face.
You have a story there.
No,
Clear.
Zahir will tell you what he does when wickets fall.
Okay. Tell us. Please
Are you
tell
talking about the
us.
South Africa story?
Every story.
Please tell us.
Okay, so let's just finish this story first because this is interesting. I think so. In that particular match, leading up to that match, when we had just started sharing the room, and a couple of days in, the first day, obviously, you know, Laxman being a senior player, so I had to listen to him. I was trying my best to be a good youngster in the team. And I would listen to him. Okay, you know, the dirty clothes go there, the shoes go there. You know, everything has to be arranged. After a couple of days, I was after practice. I was very tired. Like I seriously didn't have any energy. I come back in the room, and Laxman goes to me that, Zach, again, you know, these clothes are here, the shoes are here, and I was so tired lying on bed. I was like, Laxman, you have a problem with that? So he said, yes. So I was like, deal with your problems, sort these problems out, take the shoes, put them in your position, because this is the way I am. You know, I can't pretend anymore. And that's where we started laughing about it, and we actually became good friends, because, you know, there was no pretense between me and him. And I think, you know, that's something which our friendship has always been about. You know, when he needs any guidance, any advice, I'm very upfront, blunt with him, and vice versa. You know, so usually I had to kind of face quite a lot. He usually doesn't need much of guidance, but I've always been asking for his help and guidance, because as everyone knows that Laxman is very, very particular, very good boy. So, you know, good boys always have good advices to give.
Okay, so you have to tell me the story. What happened?
Where?
Was that when Zahir said
Just
he washes
before
his
goes
face?
to bat.
No, Zahir is pretty mild, saying that Laxman only washes his face in a dressing room. No cricketer in all dressing rooms in the world, because he's been a champion player, 140 test matches, that means he's covered all the countries, all the best grounds, all the best dressing rooms, and no cricketer has used the shower more than VVS Laxman in all the dressing rooms in the world. So that's a speciality of VVS Laxman. So, and you know, he was telling a story of Andrew Leapers telling him that his left side is tilted, or by showing him to the mirror. You know, we had a chat before VVS would go to Andrew. Andrew said, VVS is coming to me. He told me that his back's very tight. So what do? I said, when you see him, tell him that your left side is tilted. Andrew said, why? He said, because that will help you to play through the onside more. Because if you're tilted on the left side, the shoulder automatically, and that's the reason he got 281, because he whipped Shane Bond from the rough into the onside all the time. So there was a method to the madness of VVS Laxman. So Andrew made it clear that you're tilted to the left side, and that will actually help you back. And then he went and got that 281.
We clearly know why he's the best captain, isn't he?
Absolutely.
अभी भी lead कर रहा है.
The thing is, every time I see him, every time I meet him, there's a new version to every stories of mine. So ये नया version है कि why?
But honestly, I mean, he's just said, and Zahir actually didn't say no to that about your, and you refer to many showers in the book. You do. You actually said, I washed my face, I showered and I went out. I washed my, so that must have been a routine.
He carried a gloves, few backs, because he needed it, because he scored so much of runs. Spick and span were his clothes, packed and ready, ironed, and shower gels as well. Quite a few shower gels. So his kit bag had shower gels also. I don't know whether his wife knew it or not, but we can tell you because we spent time with him before you got married. So his kit bag had a lot of shower gels along with the bags and gloves and Sai Baba photos. So they were, I can't remember the brand, but obviously the more he made money, the brand got a bit better. But shower gels were always there.
Because he writes in the book that he didn't sweat much, so that's not a problem, but he constantly refers, read the book, it's great, that he did take many showers. Now, what's the story there? Is there a story there?
Can we leave the showers and ask something else?
Yes, no, I think he scored a lot more runs than shower gel, so let's go to that.
Okay, on a serious note, what explains, both of you, what explains VVS Laxman and Australia? Australia was a different beast.
You know, you should ask his dad and mom the question, because they named him VVS. Because they knew that when he would play for India, he would become very, very special. So It's the way you look at it. Vengi Purapu, Venkatesai, Laxman, or very, very special Laxman. So I think his mom and dad might be able to.
But as captain, you tell me, I mean, because you led him at the time when 281 happened, Australia 2003-4 happened. Zahir played with him. So, question to both of you: Australia was the best cricket team in the world. What happened?
He's my best friend, one of the best friends. Zahid also is. So, and the more time went, and now I spend more time with him than probably a lot of other colleagues. I've got closer and closer and closer to him. And my initial experiences with him was very, very scary. The first thing in Bangladesh I asked him when I became captain, VVS, will you open? No. The next thing I asked him, VVS, or I would go and tell him, VVS, that unfortunately I would not be able to pick you into the one-day side. He gave me the most dirtiest look in the world. So the day he got married, I was very happy. Because I used to only make sure that when his wife's around, and it happened in Taj, Bengal, we couldn't pick him for a one-day series, and I said, I'm gone. I have to go and tell him. So I asked the hotel receptionist, that is VVS in the hotel? He said, yeah, his wife's also there. I said, that's the best time to go and tell him that unfortunately I've not been able to pick him, because he wouldn't shout then.
Otherwise, he will.
Yeah. So I've had the toughest times with VVS Laxman early on in his career, but he's an amazing person. With all respect, all the funs and the jokes I play and I talk about the shower gels. The more you know VVS Laxman, the more you will like him, because he's just a gentleman. They say cricket is a game of gentlemen, as they used to say in the past. It's not anymore, but he is probably one example where you could still be good and still be the best. And I think
good guys do come first.
Yes, it's a perfect line where good guys do come first, and he was an amazing personality.
Zahir, what explains VVS against Australia? You bowled against some of those guys. I mean, they had the best bowling attack at that point. They were the best team in the world by quite a distance. But VVS Laxman against Australia was actually very, very special all the time.
But I think always used to tease Laxman about this, that he had very lack of foot movement. So that actually helped him playing against Australia, because that way you have more time to face quick bowlers, and you are able to deal with the bounce as well better, and he has good height as well, which he's always made use of. He had a very strong back foot play, so that's something which used to work in his favor. And I always used to tease him about his footwork not going to the pitch of the ball, which actually was working well for him. And in terms of ability, I think when we in today's time, when we talk about Rohit Sharma having ample time to face a delivery and making batting look very easy, I think Laxman was also very, very special with regard to having enough time when he was facing the quick bowling.
No, I have another reason other than Zahir for that. When you play the best in the world, and Australia were by far the best. I haven't seen the West Indies during the great Sunil Gavaskar's time, but I saw the Australians during VVS's time. When you play the best bowlers in the world, you have to have that ability of putting good balls away. And if you go back to that knock of 281 and many after that, 170 in Sydney, then again he went back to Sydney and got 100. A number of times he goes back to Australia. You would see that a ball which a normal batsman on the off stump, whether set or not set, would leave, he would whip that through mid-wicket. If there was a defensive delivery, he was so risky and so strong that he would hit the ball off the off stump through mid-wicket with probably more power than through the offside. If you look at that innings against Shane Warne, he was bowling into the rough outside the leg stump. He used his feet and whipped it through mid-wicket. And the next ball, two identical deliveries, he stepped out and hit that through covers for 4. So when you have that ability of scoring runs against good deliveries, you become special. And he had it. It's a coincidence. I would say it's unfortunate that he batted at number 6, because I realize what it is batting at 5 and batting at 6. Otherwise, he would have got more than 10,000 test runs. Because it's not easy to bat at number 6 and number 5. A lot of people ask me, Saurav, that why have you finished with 7,500 test runs? You could have gone on more. I said, because I batted a lot at 5 and 6. I remember we both were batting in the West Indies. and I was batting 70 odd and he was batting 70 odd in the Trinidad test match we won. He got out when the second new ball came in. And then we lost 5 wickets for about 7 or 8 runs because we had Zahir Khan coming at 7, whose technique against fast bowling was absolutely brilliant. So we had that problem against at that stage. So I say that he was unlucky that he batted at number 5 and number 6 for India. He was so gifted. You look at his record at number 3, the number of runs he got or the number of times when he pushed him early on, and the amount of hundreds and the big scores he got. So he had this huge ability, and Zahir would be in a better position to tell me because he was a champion bowler himself, that what happens when a good batsman or a great batsman, he's a great batsman, not just a good batsman, would hit actually good deliveries from nowhere, and I think he belonged to that category.
Let me sort of push these 3 people a little bit more on. I mean, VVS actually writes in the book that when John and Saurav asked him to bat at 3, he was delighted. He goes on to praise Rahul very justly, that he never ever complained that Rahul was batting 3, but always deep down he wanted to bat for India at number 3, and then he explains that the rest is history. But you know, one thing, VVS, that we are talking about today, in this day and age, we all praise Cheteshwar Pujara for batting with the tail, for batting with numbers 7, 8, 9, 10, the way he accelerated and all of that. What we've seen with you, whether it's that, match with Ishant Sharma in Chandigarh, whether it's that match in South Africa that India won, Durban, whether any of these test matches, famous test matches that India has won, and you mentioned very matter-of-factly that in that Perth test match of 2008, RP Singh came in and we had a 50-run partnership. It doesn't come easy. Batting with numbers 9, 10, 11, 50, 60, 70-run partnerships which change the course of games don't come easy. What was your thought process? Take us deep down. Mentally, what would you think? How would you go out and act it out?
Firstly, I think the bowlers in this team, including Zahir, had the ability to bat. And that is very important. That's a starting point. The second thing is they had a big heart. Because the primary skill set of Zach and all of them was bowling. Now this is a secondary skill set. Now when this batting becomes your secondary skill set and you're not mentally tough and you're not a big-hearted person, then whenever there is a challenging spell which is happening, or when you're playing at the international level, majority of times you played against quality bowlers who will come and bowl aggressive lines and length, sometimes try to hit them, sometimes continuously bounce them. So if you're weak in your mind, then you get up. So luckily all these guys were brave guys. So these were the 2 advantages which I felt that I had at number 6. Now the only challenge for me, unlike Saurav, unlike say MS Dhoni or Yuvraj Singh, who could hit a good ball for 6s, I was never a 6-hitter. And invariably when you're batting at number 6, you bat with a wicket keeper. You have a set batsman. If the set batsman gets out, like as Saurav mentioned, I was a set batsman with him at Trinidad, and then comes the wicket keeper. I think Deep Das Gupta was the wicket keeper in Trinidad, and then followed by the bowlers. Now when the bowlers come to bat along with the set batsman, invariably the opposition captain would spread the field and just give a single and bowl more deliveries to the bowlers to get their wickets. Now the challenge for me initially was in trying to accelerate, in trying to get runs even when the field was spread. I used to play the big shot. I would probably get 1 boundary and then just get out hitting the fielder in the deep. Now then I had to come up with a method of how to get my own runs and how to translate that runs of mine which will benefit the team. And that's where all these guys, and I remember John made sure that all the bowlers got batting. All the bowlers had a batting captain. I don't know who was under Saurav, but under me was Zach, under me was Ashish for some time. And after the next session, it was important for us to make sure that we give them enough throwdown so they get better at it. And when you're out there in the middle, I talk about the RP Singh's innings. Now, communication is very important. When you show a lot of confidence off the field to the bowler saying that Zach, RP, you're capable of getting runs, you got good technique, and you're mentally tough. Now, when you're out there in the middle, you don't give them the strike, then it's just an eye wash. So what I used to do is I used to give them the strike, but when they used to come and join me, I used to ask which is the bowler you're not comfortable with. So in the Perth Test match, RP told that I'm comfortable, Laxman bhai, with all the bowlers except Brett Lee. So the majority of the balls of Brett Lee I used to face, and the other bowlers, it used to be like as if a normal partnership is happening. And in the bargain, RP gets 31 in the 60 odd runs we put together, and it helped me to get to 79. Otherwise, probably I would end up with 40 or 45, and we would have been all out. And that partnership with RP helped us to post a decent total, and which helped us to win the game. So I think credit to all the bowlers with whom I played, that they always took pride in their batting. And I told last time also that it's such a proud moment for me that Harbhajan got 2 test centuries. Anil got a test century. You know, there were so many important knocks played by the bowlers like Ishan. Everyone talks about me being instrumental in winning that test match in Mohali. But if Ishan wouldn't have fought it out, you know, if Ishan wouldn't have shown that grit and determination, where is the possibility of me getting a 60 or 70 runs, what I ended up with? So it's because of the bowlers, because they are the main guys in that partnership who actually put value on their wicket. I think communication is very important, and showing faith and belief in their abilities is very important.
Zahir, can you just take that forward from the perspective of a bowler?
Well, I think with Laxman, there are always two things. You know, bigger the challenge, better the application. You know, he's always been that sort of a batsman, that sort of a personality, which tough situations and challenges used to get him going. And when you look at Lakshman's career, or you look at how Lakshman's life has been, it's one thing suits very well. I think it's success is measured by the obstacles one has overcome, and Lakshman had many of them. And it's just the way he was looking at things has helped him achieve what he's achieved, and mental strength is been right up there. But the credit also goes to Lakshman's mum and dad. That I always used to hear one thing from Lakshman is that his dad and mum always used to tell him, "You're on a national duty. There will be setbacks. There will be tough situations, but you have the blessings, and you are representing your country. So that responsibility you cannot shy away from. So it doesn't matter what you have to sacrifice, and that's what Lakshman's life has always been about, and that's how he's been looking at any challenge, any situation. I'm sure back of his mind, all he would think of is the teachings of his parents and family.
Sort of one thing that VVS mentions in the book, one of his regrets is not playing the World Cup of 2003. You were captain. Do you, and then in Australia 2003-4 in that series, he was brilliant. Do you look back and think that perhaps you should have had VVS Laxman in that team?
I would have had VVS Laxman in every team, not just the World Cup team. So, as captains, at times you take decisions which may be right, which may be wrong. But all I can say is that he would have scored runs in every format of the game. So maybe it was a mistake, but then sometimes you do such things as a captain.
I didn't mean it
No,
as a mistake.
it's not a problem. It could have been a mistake. When somebody like VVS Laxman is on the fringes and is not playing cricket, any form of cricket, anybody would ask you that question: was it right or was it wrong? And when you sit back in hindsight, at that time you were talking about maybe a young player, or rightly or wrongly. And all I can say is that if VVS would have made the team, he would have not been weaker. He would have not been weaker as a side. But then sometimes things happen which you don't know whether you did right or whether you did wrong.
And you mentioned this to me, and that you were contemplating giving it up. You were so down.
Yeah, that was probably one of the lowest phases in my career. And after the World Cup, I remember during the World Cup I was in West Indies. Ashok Paji was the coach. I was with the India A team. We were playing the domestic cricket in West Indies. When you go with the international team, you don't get proper facilities. Imagine you're going with the India A side playing their domestic structure, no proper facilities for practice. We were playing on poor grounds. The accommodation was miserable. But I was following the fortunes of the Indian team. I was so proud the way they were playing in the World Cup in South Africa. But after that I came back, and in fact I didn't want to go to that India A tour. It was my father who told that you've been selected for as Zach told, you're selected for India and you have to go and serve your country, And so I went there reluctantly, but my mind was not there, my heart was not there. And after that, I came back and I went off to US to spend time with my childhood buddies from school who didn't follow the game, because within myself I decided that I'm not going to continue the game. I didn't share it with my parents, I didn't share it with my uncle, I didn't share it with my coaches, but deep down I thought that I'm going to quit the game. And I went and spent close to 2 months, but after 1.5 months, deep down I was missing something. And what I was missing was hitting the cricket ball, being on the cricket field, going out and scoring runs for whatever team I'm playing. And then sense prevailed again, and I realized that I'm not playing the game because I have to play a World Cup. I'm playing the game because I'm passionate about this game. I'm playing the game because I love this game. And I'm very fortunate that my parents have given me the opportunity at the age of 17 to pick cricket as a career. How many people, I knew a lot of talented friends of mine who didn't get that opportunity from their parents. So I thought that I cannot let down my parents. And then I wanted to go out and just enjoy batting. And as it turned out, 2003 and 4 was probably the most successful probably the best patch in my career, especially the way, not only because I scored runs, but the way Team India played in Australia and then went on to win the series in Pakistan. So as a player, you feel really grateful when you are going through those kind of situations and suddenly you feel that how lucky you are. So I felt that I was lucky that I was an established player of Indian Test team. So let me not think about what I'm not part of. Let me go out and give my best to the country. Because that's what my father always told. At the age of 17, he told that it's not the profession that glorifies you, but you go out and glorify the profession. So both my parents told that they're glorifying the medical profession and they're serving the country using a stethoscope. And they told me or inspired me by the way they have conducted themselves and how passionate they have been in their profession. Even now they are the busiest people in the family, how passionate they have been in treating their patients, thinking always about how to give the best to their patients. And what they told me was through the cricket bat or through the game of cricket, it's an opportunity for me to serve the country. So in 2003, that all those memories came back, and then I realized that I was very childish in the way I was thinking, and I was also not following the teachings of my grandfather who taught me Bhagavad Gita, which mentions or which tells that you have to be very equanimous. So it's human tendency, something which you worked really hard for, something which you thought that you deserve to get, and you don't get that. It's human tendency that you get all the negative emotions within you. But luckily for me, there was 5 months from the end of the World Cup to the international season in 2003-4. If it would have been immediate, I don't know what or how my career would have transpired. But I'm very fortunate that I took the right decision and changed my mindset and again approached the game with the right spirit. The reason I started playing the game.
He played a decade after that. Interesting, isn't it? Saurav said the title of the book should be different and saved Saurav Ganguly's career. VVS, after that call that Saurav as captain might have taken, not to take him, wanted to end his own career. Platonic relationship between these two.
I think Saurav again is very modest. While he says that, that knock saved his career, but I always feel that the duo of Saurav and John, I feel I've taken up the challenge when Indian cricket was in doldrums. And all the legends, someone who's sitting on my left, all these guys, Harbhajan, Yuvraj, Sehwag, Zach, Ashish Naira, Irfan Pathan, all of them made their debut under Saurav and John. I felt that period was probably the golden period because it was a rebuilding phase. The cricket fans of India who are so much emotionally attached to the performances and the fortunes of Indian players and Indian cricket, they lost trust in Indian cricketers. And what happened over the next 3-4 years is again we regained the trust from them, which is so important because ultimately the game is so healthy in our country because of the fans. They are the biggest stakeholders. So I felt that under Saurav and John, I think Indian cricket moved forward.
Exactly.
You know, I haven't read the book yet, and I would probably do it. All of you who hasn't read the book, you must read page 246, where VVS Laxman, after we came back from the World Cup, and I was searching for VVS Laxman to pick him in that one-day squad to go to Bangladesh, because everybody had refused. Zach had refused. Rahul Dravid had refused. Rahul Dravid had refused. Sachin Tendulkar had refused. But then I was told VVS Laxman is holidaying in America and he's not interested in playing one-day cricket. So that's in page 246 of this book. So you please read it and make sure everybody is aware of it.
Yeah.
He had just come back from the World Cup and he was in US holidaying with his school friends, and I had picked him for the one-day team. He wasn't available.
One of the reasons, because he mentioned this to me, one of the reasons I asked you that question was, what prompted that decision? So yeah, I mean...
He wasn't available for the trip to Bangladesh, and we had a fantastic trip. Ashok Malhotra was the coach, if he remembers, and I had requested him that VVS has to be in the side, but he gave me the same answer that he's not
available. Okay, last few minutes of my show today. You know, VVS dedicates a lot of time and very justly to the road to number one. And you mentioned there are four chapters. Road to number one. And these two were architects, starting with that 281 match, eventually Zahir Khan fulfilling it in that Wankhede match, Sri Lanka. So over a period, you've beaten England in England, sort of drew 1-1 Australia, you've beaten Pakistan, beaten the West Indies. Actually, Indian cricket constantly was an upward curve. And we keep still talking about overseas success, etc. All of you, what worked for that team? And I don't want to get into controversy, I'm not interested. But was it actually a team that all of you guys thought can beat the best team in the world? I don't want to say if that was the best Indian team or not, I'm not bothered. But was it actually the team that could take on any side and beat the best team in the world? Why don't you start?
Well, I think the first and foremost, the belief was very important. Setting of goal was very important. And then having that kind of intent was very important. So all these things were happening because of the team culture, which has been consciously and very very proactively was achieved, and a lot of credit for that goes to Dada and John Wright, because they were the man in charge, and I think that's something which the question I'm going to ask Dada later, that when Laxman scored that 281. With that kind of a back, I'm sure the feedback must have gone to him and John Wright at that stage, that Laxman is physically not available for the match. Yeah, I will hear about that. But I think, so these kind of calls were usually of the team management. And one thing which happened in that era, in those years, was identifying of these players. Which are the guys who we need to back to achieve these kind of results, and then have that kind of persistence with those guys, and eventually the results are going to come, and that's what happened. So I think to build a tall building, the foundation has to be very strong, and then that foundation was led in those years. The results of that and the upward curve, the graph going upwards, is the climb is still on, is because of the strong foundation which was led in those years.
I think intent was important. Everybody talks about leadership, the captain being the most important part of the team, which I think is. But I think leadership comes from everyone. And every time I've said that in many places where I've been asked to speak, I said that I became a good captain because I had some wonderful leaders around me. When you have a team which has Dravid, Tendulkar, Laxman, Sehwag, Zahir, Anil and Harbhajan Singh, obviously Yuvraj in the one-day format. Well, a leader was important, but was not the most important part of the group. I had to make sure that at times, and I'm honest about it, that I had to get up to their level as a leader, as a player, to get this team going. So the hallmark of the team was that all of the players who played in that period, whether it was Sehwag, Rahul, Sachin, VVS, myself, Harbhajan, Anil, Zach played about 90 odd test matches. All of them played more than 100 games. And playing 100 test matches is never an easy thing. And you had number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 8, number 9, number 11. All have played 100 test matches, which goes to show how good they were. So yes, you can back someone. Yes, you can think that he is good, but it depends on all of them to get that puzzle together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to put everything right to become a good team, and the result was because they scored runs when it mattered. Whether VVS is double hundred in Calcutta, whether Rahul Dravid's double hundred in Adelaide, Sachin's double hundred in Sydney, and VVS is 100 both in Adelaide and in Sydney, and the way this man pulled it throughout his career. The best I saw Zahir Khan bowl was 2007 in England. I used to stand at slips. Dravid, Laxman, and I used to fit in at the third slip. When you stood at slips, you felt that everything was going to come to you. The moment the ball came out of the hand, he came in as someone who was quick. He bowled at 150 kilometers an hour. And then with age, with time, he mastered the art of swinging. And when you stood at slips for him, whether in South Africa, whether in England, whether in Australia, you knew it was a matter of time when the ball would come to slips. So it was just a quality of cricketers around. I had to guide them. I had to be with them and make sure they were comfortable. So I may have been the captain of that side, but I had leaders around me who would actually take this team forward. There are times when VVS or Rahul would come and say, this is not happening right. You need to change this and make this happen. He would come and say, I don't need this field. Sometimes I gave him a field, he would turn back and say, I don't need this field. I need this field to bowl. So I had to give it to him. Harbhajan Singh bowled, I remember, in the semi-finals against South Africa in Sri Lanka. We were out of the game. We had scored 270 and Zahir was a part of the team. And South Africa were 190 for 1. So I gave Bhaji to bowl and I said, do what the best you can because I think we may not go to the finals. He said, don't worry, just give me the field. He used to bring the mid-off up, he used to bring the point up, and third or fourth ball of the over I would go and say, Bhaju, it's been a good over. Usko piche kar de. He would refuse to. Because he said, isko agar maine piche kar diya to match haar jayenge. So you had players who would come and tell the captain that don't do this because we will lose. And that's the sign of a good team. You don't want players who want 10, 35 and be happy with it. You wanted players who would say 10, 35, don't put that fielder back because I'll win you this game. So that's what mattered. And I think that was the difference between that side. I'm sure it happens in the modern day cricket as well. But it was fantastic. John was an unbelievable soul, never happy with anything. And he would always crib. He was one of my best friends, fighting all day with every issue. Either he said I was not good. If I would score runs, he would say you're the worst. If I wouldn't run, he would say you're the least fittest in the team. See what others are doing. So we had a love and hate relationship between. And I think that's what made that team special. Is that everybody wanted to be respected, and respected when you went away from home. That's why you talk about Australia, you talk about England, you talk about West Indies, you talk about the World Cup or the Champions Trophy. It was just that self-respect that when we go away, when it gets tough, we don't want to look as cricketers who were not ready for it. I think that was very important.
Great words, Saurabh, from all of you actually. Just to sum up, final round of questions. What Saurabh said, VVS, why don't you just close that? This is actually a team, and you've talked about it beautifully in the 4 chapters, you've built it up. And it meant a lot to you, right? That number one. You're actually in a globe, unlike what people think about 9, 10 countries play cricket. No, 100 plus play cricket. Like in football, if you go to someone in Europe or in Brazil and say India plays football, they'll smirk at you. There are 104 countries which play the game. They don't play in that standard. Doesn't mean they don't play. They do play. They do play, just like 200 countries play football. So when it mattered, that number one position was achieved. Is that the pinnacle?
For me, it was probably a test player. If you see my career, I played more test matches than one day. It doesn't happen very often in Indian cricket, because if you see someone who's played for 16 years, they'll play more one days than the test. So for me, not being part of the World Cup squad, for me, test matches, if I'm playing continuously and I'm representing my country, the pinnacle.
Yeah.
For a test match, cricket is getting that number one spot. Whereas if you're playing one day cricket regularly, it's like winning a World Cup. So India has won the World Cup in '83 and then 2011. Whereas for Saurav and John and the entire group which met in Chennai in 2000, 2001, that was our dream. while I write 4 chapters about that, because that was a journey as a test team from 2000, 2001 to 2009, I still write there that we were little delayed in getting to the number 1 spot because we were much better side than what we proved ourselves to be. It should have been ideally achieved in 5 years' time, in probably within 6 years. But that didn't happen for various reasons. But as Saurav mentioned, Zach mentioned, everyone were intelligent driven. We didn't require a coach to come and tell to us to go out and work hard. Everyone were intelligent driven. Everyone took a lot of pride in wearing that Indian cap. Everyone took a lot of pride representing the country and achieving success and laurels for the country. Everyone strived to achieve excellence. When Saurav mentions that everyone played close to 100 test matches. 100 test matches happens when you show longevity. 100 test matches happens when you play for a long period of time. You cannot play for a long period of time international cricket when you don't strive to achieve excellence. So each one in their own way strive to achieve excellence, and each one, while there were differences of opinions, which is very, very important in a team environment, but everyone had one thing common, which is what is the best opinion, what is the best decision for the better of Indian cricket, for the better of Indian test team. And it started from the captain. I'll come back again. We should not even forget the selectors, especially before the 2000-2001 Australia series. The selectors' role, John and Saurav as the coach and the captain, because I'll give you an example where Harbhajan Singh, Anil was not there, which I write there. Anil was not available because of the shoulder injury. We were playing the board presence 11 match against Australia at Nagpur, and there were 4 spinners on display. I was the captain of the board presence 11, and then we got some runs, and then when Australia were batting, all the 4 spinners were bowling, and I was really impressed to see the way, and surprised to see the way Harbhajan was bowling, because I was in the slips, and I'd seen Harbhajan probably 1 year before that, and after that he was out of the test squad after the Australia series in Australia. And suddenly you could see that he's a changed bowler. He was getting that extra bounce, he was turning the ball viciously, and lunch break I had a chat with Saurav. In fact, Saurav called to check what was happening on the ground, who was bowling well. And I told, Dada, amongst all the spinners on display, I think Bhaji is way ahead of the other spinners. And then Saurav says, don't give him bowling. And I obediently, and that's the kind of respect we had for the captain, that's the kind of respect we had for each other, and each and every member in the team. The moment captain said that, don't give him any more bowling, I didn't give. From lunch to tea, I didn't give him bowling. And Bhaji was worried because Bhaji didn't know that Saurav has told it, neither did I tell him. And Bhaji was worried, why is Laxman not giving me bowling? Because he was trying to prove his case by picking up wickets so that he would be selected for the test match. Chandu Bode sir, who was the chairman of selection committee, called me at tea time and asked, why you didn't give bowling to Bhaji? Because everyone knew that Bhaji was bowling well. And then I had to explain to Chandu Bode sir that Saurav had a chat with me during lunch break, and Saurav told not to give, and he was okay with that. And as it turned out, Harbhajan was picked for the test in Mumbai, and rest is history. So I believe that when you have to become the number 1 test playing nation in world cricket, it cannot be achieved with individuals. It has to be a combined team effort, right from the selectors to the leadership group in the team to each and every individual in the team. Everyone had to take that pride, everyone had to be internally motivated and inspired to reach the zenith. And that was the beauty of that team. And it was like a family. You helped each other, you enjoyed each other's success, and if someone is not doing well, you go and you were very upright and tell him the reason why he was not being successful or why he is not being able to perform to his potential, and if that was a constructive criticism, no one minded. I think that was an healthy competition we all had, and we never competed with each other. We competed against the opposition, and that was so important for that team. And that's why even now, I was telling to Zach, I was telling to all my mates, I was telling to Saurav also, that I've called all these guys, and everyone turns up. What more do you want? I retired in 2012. I think the last time me and Saurav played was in 2008, Zara? 2008. Okay. But with one phone call, everyone turns up. And that shows what kind of feeling we have for each other. That shows that what kind of respect we have for each other. And in a team, if you don't respect your colleagues, in a team, if you don't feel for your colleagues, then you're not playing as a team. The beauty of that team was each one of us played as a team. We didn't play as individuals.
That's why I said good guys do come first. I mean, with VVS Laxman, that's true. Final question. Saurav, what stands out for VVS? He mentioned all of you have turned up for his book launch. I'm not surprised. No one is. I don't think any hand will go up in the audience if you ask, why did Saurav Ganguly, Zair Khan, Sachin Tendulkar, Virendra Sehwag, all of these people turn up? They will turn up. We know that camaraderie exists. In the afternoon, he and I were talking today, and he says, it was my dream, our dream, to win in Australia against Australia. I sincerely hope Virat Kohli fulfills that dream. So for VVS Laxman, not only these guys, but even the current generation will stand up. That's why I feel VVS Laxman is different. Do you agree?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's one of, gentleman is an understatement. We were having a conversation 4 days back, and I won't say what was the conversation. He called me up and said, we need to do this. I said, you send your own thing, I'll send my thing, I know what I have to send. He says, no, please, I'm sending you something, you please see to it. I got that stuff, and I called him back and said, are you writing this to your wife? He said, no. I said, we had a discussion, and I'm seeing your document at this minute. So that was VVS Laxman. Even if you would get angry, he's one of the most nicest person you will ever meet. And that sums up VVS Laxman. And I'll ask him one question before he goes. He's been a champion batsman, and one of my dearest friends in the cricket world. I have a question. What was he telling Pragyan Ojha in Mohali when he was winning that test match for India? He has to say the truth, that in anger, you don't see VVS Laxman very angry. In anger, what was he telling his fellow mate from Hyderabad, Pragyan Ojha, in that Mohali
You've
test
given
match?
my last statement. I would have asked Shailaja, does he get angry? Anyway, I'll come to that. But Zahir, he has to answer that last. But VVS Laxman, one thing that stands out for you, actually, I mean, testimony to him, he said you've turned up for his book. But that was obvious, wasn't it?
There was no doubt about it. Lakshman is someone who I explained earlier, that his career, his life, when you look at it, it's about success is measured by obstacles one has overcome. I think and how you look at the challenges, how you look at life is he's a prime example of that. It doesn't matter how tough or easy the situation is. He's someone who you can bank on doing the right thing, and that's something which always Laxman can stand by as so that's something which Laxman is for me. I think when you told me that he's coming up with his book, I was the most happiest, because Laxman, you'll hardly find him angry. You'll hardly see him criticizing anyone. It's only good, better, best. When he says good, that means that means he's average. So that's how you can describe him. But he's very intense. He's very passionate, and these stories, what was going through, how, because it's always been about his mental side, so and the mental strength. So when he decided to write the book, I knew that the conversations which he was having with me, and he was having with himself, and probably with his family as well, and I was happy that when he got married, he had someone to share all those feelings with, because he was very intense. He was very intense as in his preparation as a person, because he always wanted to do the best. And failure is something which always had affected him deeply. The setbacks had always been affected him deeply, and that's something which I always knew. So this book, I'm sure, is a way of letting all those thoughts, letting all those thoughts known to people, and understand Laxman, the person, very very closely, which we all close friends know, which all the teammates know, which the families know, but I think it's for world to know now that what a person VVS Laxman is all about.
I don't think I need to say please buy the book, do I? I mean, but do please. I mean, it's there.
Saurav asked something.
You have to finish that.
Yeah, वो बोलना चाहिए.
100%. बोलोगे 1 minute.
So
अच्छा, पहला बोल।
I was, using Hyderabadi Hindi to my fellow Hyderabadi.
बोलिए सर बोलिए.
No, I was using Hyderabadi Hindi to my fellow Hyderabadi. Since 2000 and last 3 years or 4 years, I'm coming regularly to Bengal, working with the Bengal. Now Bengalis, even if they abuse, it sounds so sweet. So I wish I knew more Bengali. ओजा के साथ बंगाली में गाली देता कोई किसी को पता ही नहीं रहता. It's so sweet. दादा गाली देता है बट पता ऐसा लगता है कि दादा प्रेज कर रहा है किसी को.
Correct. But we still haven't got the answer.
Yeah. बताइए
Still
सर.
waiting for the answer.
He's right here. कैप्टन बोल रहा है, बोलना पड़ेगा.
What did you tell him?
कैप्टन रिटायर हो गया, प्लेयर भी रिटायर हो
सर
गया.
बट कैप्टन तो कैप्टन होता है.
नहीं बोल
Next
सकते.
edition of the book headline. Anyway, he's once again left the ball outside the off stump. So that's VVS Laxman, but ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolutely brilliant evening. We've got to do 2 sets of photographs. Don't go. 2 sets of photographs, why? One with obviously these 3 people. They've shared the Indian dressing room. They've forced the tricolour to go up. They've made sure that all of us stand and hail them, not only as cricketers and achievers and super achievers and super performers, but as people who had reignited faith in the game that we consider the secular religion of this country. So that will be photograph number 1. And photograph number 2, we've heard multiple times his father and mother being mentioned. We heard multiple times his wife being mentioned. We have his family here. So we will ask, that will be the last part of this evening, his parents, his wife and children to join him on stage with Saurav and Zach for a final photograph. And at that point in time, I don't think I need to tell you that we need to give them a standing ovation. So for the first photograph, Saurav, Zahir and VVS Laxman. Our television coverage can stop. Our photographers, please let the audience enjoy this for a second. We'll open the book formally. We'll unveil it formally. Our photographers, if you want to come and take pictures now, this is the time. 30 seconds for you to take pictures, because these 3, as I said, have contributed not only to their own careers and to Indian cricket, but to make the game a far richer place. VVS Laxman, Saurav Ganguly, Zahir Khan have indeed glorified the game of cricket. একটু দাঁড়া সামনে বের হয়ে যাক. Done? Can you turn that side for the photographers that side? Sure, ওদিকে একটু turn করো. Done? Fabulous. Please can we have the family on stage, all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for the entire VVS Laxman team that I call it. What's made this story possible, not only for him and the family, but for India. Put your hands together for the family. And we'll do it the same way. First they'll stand for the photographers in front, and then they'll stand for the photographers from that side. First here and then that side.